My female friend texted, "Split this $500 bill or I'm calling the cops." After ordering lobster, I said call them. When the police saw her previous 3 arrests for the same restaurant scam, they had different handcuffs in mind. I, 28 male, met Veronica about 8 months ago at a networking event. She was charming, seemed successful, always dressed to the nines. We hit it off talking about startups and tech. Started hanging out maybe once a month, coffee here, drinks there. Nothing romantic, just what I thought was a decent friendship. Looking back, there were signs. She'd always suggest upscale places but then forget her wallet, or her card would mysteriously decline. I'd cover it because, friends help each other out. She'd always promise to get the next one. Never did. Last Tuesday she texts me out of nowhere. Haven't heard from her in 6 weeks. "Veronica, hey stranger, miss you. Dinner tonight? There's this new seafood place I'm dying to try." Me, can't really afford eating out this week, saving for my car repair. "Come on. My treat, I just closed a huge deal. Let me celebrate with my favorite person." Her treat? That was new. Against my better judgment, I agreed. The restaurant was fancy, like valet parking and cloth napkins fancy. She was already there, halfway through a bottle of wine that probably cost more than my weekly groceries. "Order whatever you want," she said, waving the menu at me. "This is my celebration." She went absolutely wild. 2 lobsters, oysters, some fish I couldn't even pronounce. More wine. Appetizers I didn't touch. She kept ordering, telling the waiter to keep it coming. I had a pasta dish and water. I'm not gonna lie, watching her order was making me uncomfortable. But hey, she said it was her treat. Right? The bill came. I didn't see the total at first because she grabbed it. Then I watched her face completely change. She stared at it for a solid 30 seconds, then slid it across to me. $523.47. "We're splitting this," she said. Not asked, said. I actually laughed. "You're joking. I'm not paying for all this myself. That's insane. You ordered all of it. You said it was your treat. I had pasta." She got loud. Real loud. "Are you seriously going to make me pay for everything? What kind of man are you? The kind who was told this was your celebration dinner that you were treating me to." That's when she pulled out her phone. "Split this bill right now, or I'm calling the police. I'll tell them you invited me here, and now you're refusing to pay." The entire restaurant was staring. The waiter looked like he wanted to disappear. But something in her eyes, this wasn't panic. This was calculated. She'd done this before. "Call them," I said. She actually looked shocked. "I'm serious. So am I. Call them." She did. She actually did. Put it on speaker too, probably thinking it would scare me. Told them I was refusing to pay for our dinner and threatening her, said she felt unsafe. The dispatcher said they'd send someone. While we waited, I pulled up my phone and screenshotted our entire text conversation. Her inviting me, her saying it was her treat, everything. I also noticed something interesting. She'd been tagged in several restaurant photos on Instagram over the past few months. Always at high-end places. Always with different people. The photos would disappear after a day or two, but Google Cache is forever. The cops showed up. 2 officers, looking thoroughly annoyed to be dealing with this. Veronica immediately turned on the waterworks. "He invited me here. He said he'd pay. Now he's trying to force me to pay for everything." I showed them my phone, the texts. She invited me, said it was her treat. I have a $32 pasta. She ordered everything else. The older cop looked at the bill, then at her, then at me. "Ma'am, did you order these items?" We both ate. "Sir, what did you eat?" "The linguine and water." The cop turned back to her. "Ma'am, I need to see your ID." The way her face went white, I knew something was up. She handed it over reluctantly. The older cop stepped away, made a call, came back 5 minutes later with a completely different expression. "Ma'am, you're under arrest." "What?" "You have 3 outstanding warrants for theft by deception, all from restaurants within a 10-mile radius." My jaw hit the floor. 3 warrants? Turns out Veronica had pulled this exact same scam multiple times. Order expensive meals, find someone to pin the bill on, threaten to call the cops if they didn't pay. 3 other people had pressed charges. She'd been dodging court dates for months. As they cuffed her, she screamed at me. "This is your fault. You could have just paid. It's just money. You ruined my life over money." "No," I said. "You ruined your life over lobster." The restaurant manager came over after they left. Turns out they'd been watching her since she walked in. They had her photo in their system from another high-end restaurant's warning email. They were planning to refuse service, but wanted to see what would happen when the bill came. They comped my pasta. Update 1. The last 48 hours have been absolutely insane. First, turns out Veronica made bail the next morning. How do I know? Because she showed up at my apartment building at 6 a.m., screaming in the parking lot, "You owe me $2,000. That's what I woke up to. I looked out my window and there she was, designer heels and all, yelling at my building. That's what I had to pay for bail. You're going to pay me back. I started recording immediately. My neighbor came out first, told her to shut up or he'd call the cops. She turned on him. Mind your own business. This doesn't concern you. Lady, it's 6 in the morning. Everything concerns me right now. She lasted about 10 more minutes before property management showed up. The property manager, Deb, absolute legend, told her to leave or she'd be trespassed. Veronica tried to argue that she was conducting legitimate business. Screaming in our parking lot at dawn isn't legitimate anything, Deb said. Leave. Now. After she left, I filed a police report for harassment. The same older cop from the restaurant actually took my report. She's something else, he said. You might want to look into a restraining order. But wait, it gets better. That afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. It was a lawyer. Her lawyer. Mr. Name, I'm calling on behalf of my client, Veronica last name. She's willing to drop all civil charges against you for emotional distress and defamation if you pay her $5,000. I actually laughed. What charges? What defamation? You publicly humiliated her and caused her false arrest. False? She has 3 warrants. Those are separate matters. This is about Tuesday night's incident. Tell your client I'll see her in court, and I'm recording this call, by the way. He hung up immediately. Then the social media started. She made an Instagram post, public of course, with my picture from the restaurant's security footage, calling me a predator who tricks women into dinner then refuses to pay. Said I was part of some elaborate scam targeting successful women. The comments were wild. Half her followers were calling for my head. The other half were people she'd scammed before, telling their own stories. One guy posted screenshots of her doing the exact same thing to him at a steakhouse 6 months ago. Another woman said Veronica had borrowed $3,000 for a medical emergency and ghosted her. The post lasted 4 hours before Instagram removed it for harassment. But here's the best part. Remember those restaurant photos I mentioned? I did some digging. Found 12 different people she'd dined with at expensive restaurants in the past year. I reached out to 5 of them through Instagram. All 5 had similar stories. Expensive meal, sudden demand to split an insane bill, threats to call police or make a scene. 2 actually paid just to avoid embarrassment. One guy paid $400 for a meal where he'd only had a salad. We're all meeting next week to compare notes. Update 2. Remember that meeting I mentioned? It happened yesterday. And holy hell, 7 people showed up. 7. All with Veronica stories. There was Brett, who'd been hit for $400 at a sushi place. Megan, who'd covered a $300 wine bar tab. Diego, who'd paid $600 at a steakhouse when Veronica claimed her ex stole all her cards. 2 others who'd been threatened with police. And Tanya, who had the wildest story of all. Tanya had been Veronica's roommate for 3 months. Veronica had answered her ad for a room rental. Seemed perfect. First month's rent and deposit cleared. Then Veronica's checks started bouncing. When Tanya tried to evict her, Veronica claimed tenant rights and said she'd sue for discrimination. Tanya had to formally evict her, which took another 3 months. During that time, Veronica stole packages, used Tanya's credit card. She'd somehow gotten the number and even tried to steal her identity. She opened 3 credit cards in my name, Tanya said. I'm still dealing with the fraud reports. We compiled everything. Every receipt, every text, every threat. The total amount she'd scammed just from our group, over $4,000. And that's just 7 people. Brett had already pressed charges after our dinner fiasco, made local Facebook groups. Megan was filing this week. They all wanted to know how to proceed. Then Diego dropped a bomb. I hired a PI after she scammed me. Want to know what I found? Veronica's real name isn't even Veronica. It's Bethany. She's got a record going back 6 years. Fraud, theft, identity theft, check kiting. She's been doing this across 3 states. The successful businesswoman thing? Complete lie. She doesn't work. This is her work. She's got warrants in 2 other states. We decided to coordinate. Everyone who hadn't already filed charges would do so this week. We'd all show up to her court dates. Strength in numbers. But Veronica Bethany wasn't done with me yet. This morning I woke up to 67 emails, all from different email addresses, but all obviously her. Threats, insults, fake legal documents, even a poorly photoshopped invoice for emotional damages. My favorite was one claiming to be from the FBI saying I was under investigation for interstate harassment. The FBI. We're not paying for her lobster. I forwarded everything to the detective handling her case. Then at lunch, my boss called me into his office. Someone had called claiming to be a detective, saying I was under investigation for assault and theft. My boss, thankfully, isn't an idiot. He asked for the detective's badge number and callback information. The person hung up. We called the actual police. It was her, obviously. She'd violated her bail conditions by contacting me. There's now a warrant for her arrest. Again. The detective called me an hour ago. They picked her up at a hotel downtown. She was using a fake name to check in. Had 4 different IDs on her. They found my picture printed out with red X's drawn over my face. They also found a notebook with detailed plans to ruin 6 other people, all from our group. She's being held without bail this time. Update 3: court happened yesterday. Buckle up because this was absolutely bonkers. First, she fired her lawyer. Decided to represent herself. Showed up in what I can only describe as a TV lawyer costume. Black suit, fake glasses, carrying a briefcase that the bailiff said was full of nothing but printed YouTube law videos. She tried to claim she was the victim of an elaborate conspiracy, that all 7 of us who showed up were part of a predator ring, targeting successful women. She actually used the phrase, orchestrated persecution, with a straight face. The judge asked her to explain the 3 previous warrants. Misunderstandings, Your Honor. The restaurants were confused about who ordered what. 3 times? I'm very confusing, Your Honor. The judge didn't even try to hide his eye roll. Then she tried to submit evidence, a folder of screenshots from her own Instagram showing her at nice restaurants, which she said proved she could afford the meals herself and therefore wouldn't need to scam anyone. The prosecutor immediately pointed out that those same photos were taken right before each reported incident of theft. She tried to cross-examine me. It went like this. Isn't it true you invited me to dinner? No. You invited me. I have the texts. Those were doctored. They're from your phone number. You hacked my phone. To send messages to myself inviting myself to dinner? Yes. The judge actually had to take a recess because the court reporter was trying not to laugh. But here's where it gets really crazy. During the break, she tried to approach Megan in the hallway to settle this like adults. Megan started recording immediately. Veronica Bethany offered her $50 to leave. $50. For a $300 theft. When Megan said no, Veronica said, fine, I'll tell them about your drug problem. Megan doesn't have a drug problem. She's a pediatric nurse who gets tested monthly. What drug problem? The one I'll make up if you don't leave. She said this. On camera. In a courthouse. With 3 witnesses. They added witness tampering to her charges. When court resumed, her public defender, they'd assigned one despite her refusing, convinced her to take a plea deal. 18 months in jail, 3 years probation, restitution to all victims, and she has to register as a fraud offender. Apparently that's a thing in our state. She took it, but not before screaming that we'd ruined her life over nothing, and that she'd make us all pay when she gets out. The judge added 6 months for the threat. As we left the courthouse, the prosecutor pulled us aside. Turns out they'd been building a case against her for 2 years. She'd hit at least 40 people that they know of. Our testimony sealed it. Oh, and remember those other warrants in different states? They're extraditing her after she serves her time here. Final update. So I genuinely thought this was over. She's in jail, I have a restraining order, life goes on, right? Wrong. Last week I got a call from my mom. Someone had sent her a Facebook message saying I was in jail for assault and needed $5,000 for bail. The message came from an account pretending to be my aunt. My mom, being way smarter than scammers think, called me immediately. Are you in jail? No, Mom, I'm at work. Someone says you need bail money. It's a scam. Turns out Veronica Bethany has a cousin, Jasmine, and Jasmine decided to avenge her cousin by trying to scam my family. Her logic was that I owed them for getting Veronica locked up, so she was going to get the money however she could. She'd found my family through my social media, now private thanks, created fake accounts, and started messaging everyone. My sister got one saying I was in the hospital. My dad got one saying I'd been kidnapped. My uncle got one saying I needed money for emergency surgery. Fortunately, my family isn't stupid, and they all called me directly. But Jasmine kept escalating. She found my workplace, it's on LinkedIn, and left reviews saying I was a predator who targets women. She signed me up for hundreds of newsletters. She even tried to cancel my utilities by calling and pretending to be me. Didn't work. Passwords exist for a reason. I filed a police report. The detective from Veronica's case actually laughed when he heard the name Jasmine. We know her. She's got her own record. Not the brightest bulb, that one. They picked her up 2 days later. She'd been doing this from her work computer at a law firm where she was a receptionist, had been a receptionist. They fired her on the spot. She was charged with harassment, attempted fraud, and cyberstalking. She's looking at 6 months to a year. At her arraignment, I went, she tried to claim she was defending family honor. The judge asked if she understood that her cousin was convicted of fraud. That doesn't matter. Family is family. Family is going to jail is what family is, the judge replied. But here's the twist, ending that still has me shaking my head. Remember the notebook they found when they arrested Veronica? The one with plans to ruin people? The detective called me yesterday. They'd been going through her hotel room more thoroughly. Found her real notebook. Not the revenge one, her actual records. She'd been keeping detailed notes of every scam for 6 years. Every person, every restaurant, every amount, like a twisted accounting ledger. The total? $273,000. $273,000 in 6 years. That's not including identity theft, credit card fraud, or the rent scams, just restaurant and borrowing money scams. She'd turned being a terrible person into a full-time job. And honestly, she was pretty good at it until she tried to make me pay for her lobster. The case is now federal because of the interstate fraud. She's looking at up to 20 years when you combine all the charges across 3 states. All because she couldn't just pay for her own food. The detective told me they're using this case in training now. How Instagram posts and lobster took down a 6-year fraud ring is apparently going to be a real presentation at a law enforcement conference. I'm still getting messages from random people she scammed over the years, thanking me for finally stopping her. One guy from another state said she'd hit him for $2,000 with a fake investment scheme. Another woman lost $5,000 to a fake charity. Veronica was running. The restaurant? They sent me a gift card for services to the community. I've eaten there 3 times this month. I avoid the lobster. As for me, I learned a valuable lesson. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. All those little red flags I ignored because we're friends, never again. And if someone invites you to dinner then tries to make you pay for their lobster, call their bluff. They might just have 3 warrants. Edit. Since people keep asking, yes, I have all the documentation. No, I'm not sharing personal info or case numbers for obvious reasons. And to the person who messaged saying they think they know Veronica Bethany, check your credit report. Seriously. My wife gasped, OMG, you're such a child, grow up. When I suggested marriage counseling, I said, you're right, I should grow up. When she got the legal separation papers from my attorney instead of a counseling appointment, growing up looked different. I, 34 male, served my wife Natalie, 32, legal separation papers 2 weeks ago. She thought I was joking until the process server showed up at her yoga studio. We've been married 7 years. No kids, thank God. The past 3 years have been rough. Not violent or dramatic rough. Just this slow erosion of respect that I kept ignoring because I loved her. It started small. Comments about my hobbies being childish. I build model trains. My friends being losers, they're all employed, stable guys. My job being pedestrian, I'm an electrician, make decent money. Meanwhile, her lifestyle blog that brings in maybe $200 a month is her empire. 3 months ago was the breaking point. We were at dinner, and I brought up something I'd been thinking about for weeks. Nat, I think we should try couples counseling. She literally laughed. Wine almost came out her nose. For what? We're not connecting anymore. You seem unhappy. I'm definitely unhappy. Maybe talking to someone could help. She put down her fork and stared at me like I'd suggested we join a cult. OMG, you're such a child. Grow up. How is wanting to work on our marriage childish? Because adults don't need someone to hold their hand through life. If you can't handle marriage without running to therapy, maybe you shouldn't be married. So your solution is what? Just be miserable? She rolled her eyes. I'm not miserable. You're miserable because you're emotionally stunted. Maybe work on yourself instead of dragging me to crying sessions about your feelings. It's not about crying, it's about communication. God, even the way you're whining right now. Man up, Jeremy. This is embarrassing. I stopped talking, paid the check, drove home in silence. She acted like nothing happened. Posted Instagram stories from dinner with captions about date night with hubby and hearts. Went to bed talking about her weekend plans with her sister. I lay there thinking about what she said. Grow up, man up, handle marriage. Okay, I'll handle it. Next morning, made an appointment with a divorce attorney. Not even for divorce initially, just to understand my options. Attorney listened to my situation and suggested legal separation first. Less nuclear, establishes boundaries, can convert to divorce later if needed. Filed 2 weeks later. Had her served at her yoga studio last Tuesday because I knew she'd be there and couldn't make a scene in front of her image-conscious friends. The text started an hour later. What is this? Is this a joke? Jeremy, call me now. This isn't funny. You can't be serious. I replied once, taking your advice. Growing up and handling things like an adult. My attorney's contact info is in the paperwork. She came home that night, apocalyptic. I was already staying at my brother Keith's place. According to Keith's Ring doorbell, he lives in the same neighborhood. She spent 20 minutes banging on his door screaming about manipulation and abuse. Keith didn't answer. Eventually she left. Her mom called the next day. Her sister called. Her best friend Zoe called. All with the same message. How could you do this without talking to her? I had the same response. I tried talking. She said adults don't need counseling, so I handled it like she suggested. Took action instead of talking. The funny thing, I'm not even angry anymore. Just done. Update 1. The entitlement has reached astronomical levels. First, she tried to lock me out of our house. Changed the locks while I was at work. Except I still own half the house, and changing locks during a separation without notice is a no-no. My attorney sent one letter and she had to provide me keys within 24 hours. Then came the financial manipulation. She withdrew $8,000 from our savings. Her logic? I need security, since you're abandoning me. My attorney's response? Filed an emergency motion for financial restraining orders. Judge ordered the money returned and froze our accounts except for normal expenses. She had to return $7,400, kept $600 for expenses she couldn't document. But the real show started when she realized I was serious. She showed up at my work, at an active construction site, in heels and a sundress. My foreman had to stop her at the gate. I need to speak to my husband. Ma'am, this is a hard hat area. No unauthorized persons. I'm his wife. Still need PPE and authorization. Safety rules. She actually tried to duck under the barrier. Security had to escort her out. She told them I was having a mental health crisis and she was trying to help. They called me to confirm I was fine and asked if they should call the cops. I said no, just document it. That evening, she tried a different approach. Showed up at Keith's in lingerie under a trench coat. Like an actual 80s movie cliché. Keith's girlfriend answered the door. Is Jeremy here? Why are you dressed like a flasher? Natalie actually tried to push past her. Keith's girlfriend, Danny, played college rugby. That didn't go well. Natalie left crying about assault. No cops were called. But Danny did get it on video. Friday, she sent an email to my attorney with me that CC'd. This is all a misunderstanding. Jeremy is clearly having some sort of breakdown. I'm willing to forgive this embarrassing stunt if he drops this immediately and comes home. I've scheduled a doctor's appointment for him to address his obvious mental issues. This separation is proof he needs help. My attorney's response was beautiful. Mrs. Name, my client is not experiencing a mental health crisis. He is pursuing legal separation, as is his right. Your attempts to pathologize his decision could be construed as harassment. Please cease all contact except through legal channels. Her response? She went on her blog and posted about when your husband has a midlife crisis at 34. Without naming me, but anyone who knows us knows. Talked about signs of mental breakdown, how to support a spouse in crisis, and how she's staying strong through manipulation tactics. I screenshot everything. My attorney loves evidence. Saturday she tried the family angle. My mom called. Jeremy, Natalie says you're having some kind of episode. Mom, I filed for separation because she refused counseling and told me to grow up and handle things. So I am. By ending your marriage? By protecting myself from someone who belittles me constantly. She says she never said that. Mom, she called me a child for suggesting therapy, said I was emotionally stunted, called my job pedestrian, called my friends losers. Long pause. She really said that? Multiple times. Oh honey, why didn't you tell me? Because every time I brought up issues, she'd tell me I was being dramatic. I started believing her. Mom went quiet. Then, you're staying with Keith? Yeah, good. Don't go back. That evening, Natalie sent 17 emails, each one escalating, starting with, "Can we talk?" and ending with, "You're destroying my life over nothing." Update 2. She's spiraling in the most entitled way possible. Monday, her attorney contacted mine. She wants the house fully paid by her despite me paying 60% of the mortgage. Spousal support, despite making similar income when she actually works. My truck, because she needs reliable transportation. Emotional distress damages for the public humiliation of being served at yoga. My attorney actually laughed. Counter-offered with a standard 50-50 split, no support either direction, everyone keeps their own vehicles. She rejected it immediately. Tuesday, discovered she'd been telling everyone I'm having an affair. That's the only reason a man leaves suddenly. Posted on her blog about signs your husband is cheating, with very specific details that match our situation. I don't even have time for an affair between work and dealing with her drama. But her followers ate it up. Comments about men are trash, and you deserve better, queen. Wednesday was special. She filed a restraining order. Claims I'm stalking her. Evidence? I drove past our house, where I legally co-own and have possessions, and she felt threatened. Judge threw it out Thursday. Told her that driving past your own house isn't stalking and wasting the court's time could have consequences. She cried in court about being victimized twice. But Friday was peak Natalie. She organized an intervention. Somehow convinced my brother Keith to let her use his house while he was at work. She still had a spare key from house sitting last year. Invited my parents, my cousin, 2 of my friends, and her therapist. Yeah, the therapist she's apparently been seeing solo to deal with my crisis. I walked in from work to find them all in Keith's living room with printed articles about midlife crisis, personality disorders, and emotional manipulation. Natalie standing there like she's hosting a TED Talk. Jeremy, we're here because we love you. I turned around and walked out, got in my truck and drove to a hotel. Texted Keith, your house is compromised. She used your spare key. Keith left work immediately, went home, kicked everyone out, told Natalie if she ever used his key again, he'd press charges for trespassing. She accused him of enabling my disease. My dad called later, son, I didn't know what that was about. She said you needed help. Once she started talking, I realized she's the one who needs help. The therapist, her therapist, actually called to apologize, said she was told I'd agreed to this and was concerned about the ethical implications of what happened. I gave her my attorney's number. Saturday morning, Natalie sent a bill. An actual itemized bill for emotional labor during our marriage. 7 pages, calculated at $75 for supporting your career, managing your social life, tolerating your family, and my personal favorite, being understanding about your hobbies. Total, $78,000. My attorney called it the most delusional document I've seen in 20 years of practice. Sunday, she posted on her blog, setting boundaries with toxic people, about how she's finally standing up for herself after years of giving too much. Her sister commented, proud of you for knowing your worth. The irony is actually painful. Final update. The legal separation was finalized yesterday. Natalie fought it until the very end, but reality has a way of winning. 2 weeks ago, she tried one last manipulation, called my work claiming there was a family emergency to get me on the phone. When I answered, she was sobbing. "Jeremy, please, I'll go to counseling. We can work this out." "You said counseling was for children." "I was wrong. I was stressed. You know I didn't mean it. You meant it enough to humiliate me for suggesting it. That was just... I was having a bad day." "Natalie, you've been having a bad day for 3 years then. Don't be such a child about this." There it was, even begging she couldn't help herself. "There's the real you. Goodbye, Natalie." She switched tactics instantly. "You'll regret this. No one will want you. You're broken and pathetic and..." I hung up. Her attorney finally talked sense into her. Probably explained that judges don't look kindly on documented harassment, false restraining orders, and delusional damage claims. We settled. House sells, profit split 50-50 after mortgage, each keeps our own vehicles, each keeps our own retirement accounts, no spousal support either direction. She pays my attorney fees $3,500 for the false restraining order attempt. She signed Thursday. Looked defeated. Kept trying to make eye contact during the signing. I focused on the paperwork. As we left the attorney's office, she tried one more time. "Jeremy, this is stupid. We could have just talked." "I tried talking. You said grow up, so I did." "This isn't growing up. This is running away." "No, staying with someone who belittles me would be running away. From self-respect." She actually stamped her foot, like a literal child. "You're going to die alone. Maybe, but I'll die respected, by myself at least." I walked to my truck. She followed, still talking. "You think you're so mature now? You think this makes you a man? You're still that pathetic little boy who needs validation." "Natalie." I turned around. "I don't need validation. Not anymore. That's why I'm leaving." Got in my truck and drove away. In the rearview mirror, she was standing in the parking lot, yelling at my departing vehicle. Yesterday was move-out day. I got the morning shift, she got afternoon. Took my stuff, left hers. Grabbed my tools, my model trains, she'd hidden them in the garage rafters, my grandfather's old radio I'd restored, my clothes, my books, left the furniture we'd bought together. Left the kitchen gadgets she loved, even left the TV because arguing over it wasn't worth my peace. Found a note she'd left on the counter. "You'll realize what you lost. When you do, I won't be waiting." I left my own note. I already know what I lost. My self-doubt. Thanks for the clarity. Keith helped me move into my new apartment. 1 bedroom, nothing fancy, but it's quiet. And nobody tells me my hobbies are childish. Nobody calls me pathetic for having feelings. Nobody rolls their eyes when I speak. Last night, unpacked my model trains, set them up on a table in the living room, spent 3 hours working on a new layout. Not hidden, not apologized for, just enjoyed. Natalie's blog today. Rising from the ashes, how I survived emotional abuse. I don't care anymore. Let her tell whatever story she needs. The people who matter know the truth. My mom called this morning. "How are you doing, sweetie?" "Good, Mom. Really good." "Your dad and I are proud of you. It takes strength to walk away from someone who doesn't value you." She said I was being childish. "Honey, children don't file legal paperwork and handle separation maturely. Children throw tantrums and stamp their feet in parking lots." We both laughed. "Tomorrow I'm starting something I've wanted to do for years, joining a model train club. They meet every Wednesday." Natalie always said it was too embarrassing to be seen with grown men playing with toys. Guess what? I don't care what's embarrassing anymore. I care what makes me happy. The legal separation stands for 6 months before it can convert to divorce. Natalie's already hinted through mutuals that she expects me to come to my senses before then. I've already asked my attorney to prepare the divorce papers for the earliest possible date. Growing up doesn't mean accepting disrespect. It means recognizing you deserve better and doing something about it. She was right about one thing. I did need to grow up. Just not the way she expected. My wife snapped, "Seriously? You want family therapy? How about you get real parents first?" Mocking my adoption. I said, "Great idea." When my biological parents' private investigator found me along with my inheritance. I, 34 male, am sitting in my car outside a lawyer's office, hands still shaking. Just need to get this out while it's fresh. Been married to Mallory, 32, for 6 years. Together for 9 total. The marriage has been rocky lately. Not gonna sugarcoat it. We've been having problems for about a year now. Money stress, her spending habits, my work hours, the usual stuff that piles up. Last month, I suggested couples therapy. Thought maybe a neutral third party could help us communicate better. Her response was to laugh and say therapy was for broken people. Fast forward to 3 nights ago. We got into it again about her maxing out her credit card on online shopping. I brought up therapy again, specifically said we needed family therapy to work on our communication and respect issues. That's when she snapped. Seriously? You want family therapy? How about you get real parents first? Maybe if you knew where you came from, you'd understand how real families work, instead of playing pretend with those people who picked you up from wherever. Those people. My adoptive parents who raised me from 6 months old, who never once made me feel less than their biological son, who died in a car accident when I was 22. I just stared at her. In 9 years, she'd never once thrown my adoption in my face. Never. She kept going. What are you going to tell the therapist? That your mommy and daddy issues stem from being unwanted? That someone literally gave you away? At least I know my real family. I walked out, grabbed my keys, my work laptop, and left. She screamed after me that I was proving her point, running away like everyone in your life has. Stayed at a hotel that night. The next morning, I did something I'd never considered before. I contacted an adoption search agency. See, I'd always been curious about my biological parents, but my adoptive parents were my real parents in every way that mattered. Never felt the need to search. But Mallory's words kept echoing. Get real parents first. Fine. I'll get some answers. The agency said it could take months or years to find anything. I paid the $500 retainer fee and gave them all the information I had, which wasn't much. The adoption was closed, done through a private agency that shut down in 2008. That was Tuesday. It's Friday now. This morning I got a call from an unknown number. Almost didn't answer. Mr. My last name? My name is Patricia Holworth. I'm a private investigator. I've been looking for you for 12 years. My biological grandmother hired her when she was diagnosed with terminal cancer. She wanted to find me before she died. She passed away 3 years ago, but the PI was paid to keep searching by my biological parents' estate. Both my biological parents died when I was 4. Car accident. Ironic, right? They were 18 and 19 when they had me. Gave me up because their parents forced them to. They got married 2 years later, planned to find me when they turned 21 and could access their trust funds. Never got the chance. Here's the kicker. They left me everything in their will. Everything they couldn't give me in life, they tried to give me in death. The estate has been in limbo for 30 years, waiting for me to be found. It's not millions or anything crazy, but it's a house, needs work but fully paid off, about $180,000 in various accounts that have been growing interest, and a storage unit full of things they saved for me. Letters they wrote every birthday until they died. Photos. They bought baby clothes for the child they hoped to reunite with. The investigator has documents, DNA test to confirm, which I agreed to, and a lawyer who's been managing the estate. Haven't told Mallory yet. Haven't been home. She sent exactly 3 texts. Stop being dramatic. Your silence is childish. Don't forget we have dinner with my parents Sunday. No apology. No concern. Just demands. The lawyer wants to meet Monday to start the transfer process. The house is in another state, but it's in a decent area. Could sell it or rent it out. I'm thinking about that house. About parents who loved me but couldn't keep me. About parents who chose me and loved me completely. And about a wife who thinks neither of those loves were real enough. Guess I need to make some decisions. Update 1, met with the estate lawyer Monday. Everything checks out. The DNA test confirmed it, rushed results, the estate paid for it. The money is real, the house is real, and there are boxes of letters and photos in that storage unit. The lawyer, Mr. Brenneman, has been managing this estate for 3 decades. He teared up when he met me. Said my biological parents were good kids who made one mistake, getting pregnant at 17 and 18, and their parents forced the adoption. The minute they turned 21 and got married, they started looking for me. Set up their wills to make sure I'd get everything if something happened to them. 2 months later, they died coming home from meeting with an adoption attorney. Brenneman gave me a letter they wrote when they updated their will. To our son, if you're reading this, it means we didn't get to say it in person. We love you. We've loved you every day since we had to let you go. We hope you had a beautiful life with your family. We hope you were loved. We hope you're happy. All we can give you now are the things we couldn't then. A home, security, and proof that you were wanted. You were always wanted. Mom and Dad, Lillian and Christopher. I sat in my car and cried for an hour, went home that evening to get more clothes. Mallory was there furious. Where the hell have you been? My parents were expecting us. You humiliated me. I told her I'd been handling some personal business. What personal business? You don't have any family business to handle. That's when I told her. About the PI, the biological parents, the inheritance. Her entire demeanor changed. Suddenly she's hugging me, crying about how sorry she is for what she said, how she was just stressed, how this is such a blessing for us. We can sell that house and pay off my student loans. And my car. Oh my God, we could take that trip to Europe I've always wanted. I pulled back. Your student loans that you took out for the degree you never finished? Our debt, honey. We're married. The debt you accumulated before we got married? That's not how that works. Her face changed again. Are you seriously going to be petty about this? After everything I've put up with? Put up with? Your emotional distance. Your weird thing about boundaries. The way you always take your dead parents' side. My parents who raised me? Whatever. The point is, this is a fresh start for us. We can go to therapy with this money. Now you want therapy? When there's money involved? She tried to backtrack, but I was done. Told her I was staying at a hotel while I figured things out. She threatened divorce. I said okay. Then she said the magic words, "You won't get away with hiding assets. I'll get half of everything. My lawyer will make sure of it." Here's the thing. Inheritances are separate property in our state, not marital assets, especially inheritances from before the knowledge of them even existed. Mr. Brenneman already confirmed this. But Mallory doesn't know that yet. Update 2. Mallory went nuclear. First, she tried love bombing. Flowers delivered to my hotel. Long texts about our beautiful memories and how she's ready to work on us. She even signed up for individual therapy and sent me screenshots of the confirmation. When I didn't respond for 48 hours, she switched tactics. She called my employer claiming I was having a mental breakdown and needed a wellness check. Thankfully, my boss knows me well enough to call me directly. Explain the situation. He was understanding and documented her call as harassment. Then she tried to access my bank accounts, apparently went to our bank branch with our marriage certificate demanding access to our assets. The bank called me to verify. I immediately opened new accounts at a different bank and moved everything. But here's where she really overplayed her hand. She contacted the PI, Patricia Holworth. Somehow found her number, probably from going through my email before I changed passwords, and called her pretending to be handling things for her husband who's too emotional to deal with this. Patricia, bless her, has dealt with enough sketchy people to smell BS immediately. She recorded the call, legal in her state, and sent it to me. Mallory asked how much the estate was really worth, if there were any other assets not disclosed yet, if she could get copies of all documents as the spouse, whether the biological grandparents left anything additional. Patricia told her all communication had to go through me or my lawyer. Mallory lost it, screaming that she had rights as a wife and that Patricia was enabling financial abuse. Patricia hung up and immediately called me and Mr. Brenneman. That's when I knew I had to file for divorce first. Filed yesterday. Mallory was served this morning at work. She exploded my phone. 73 texts in 2 hours. Everything from "how could you" to "I'll destroy you" to "please just talk to me" to "you owe me 6 years. The best ones. "That money is mine too. Your dead parents would be ashamed." Which ones, Mallory? "You're nothing without me. Good luck finding someone who'll put up with your abandonment issues." Then she made her biggest mistake. She went on social media. Posted a sob story about her mentally ill husband who abandoned her after coming into money. Tagged my workplace. Tagged mutual friends. Said I was having a breakdown after being manipulated by strangers claiming to be related to him. She actually wrote, "He's chosen money over our marriage." He's so damaged from being given away as a baby that he can't form real attachments. I tried to help him, but you can't fix someone who was literally unwanted from birth. Now he's hiding assets and leaving me with nothing after I spent 6 years trying to heal his trauma. Screenshots saved. Sent to my lawyer. My lawyer, different from the estate lawyer, is thrilled. She gave him everything he needs for a defamation case on top of the divorce. But wait, there's more. Remember that storage unit with my biological parents' things? I finally went to see it last week. Among the heartbreaking letters and photos, there was a safety deposit box key with a note, "For our son's future." The box had been paid for 30 years in advance. Inside, my biological grandmother's engagement ring, worth about $15,000 according to the appraisal, and a letter from her. "My dear grandson, I forced my daughter to give you up. It was the greatest regret of my life. She cried every day for a year. When she died, I knew it was my fault. She was driving back from meeting a lawyer to find you. I spent my last years trying to undo my mistake. This ring was meant for Lillian to give to her daughter-in-law someday. She would want you to have it for someone who loves you for exactly who you are. Not where you came from, not what you have, but who you are. I hope you find that person. I hope you forgive us. All my love, Grandmother Ruth." Yeah, Mallory's never seen that ring. Final update. The divorce is final. Mallory fought hard. She hired 3 different lawyers, fired 2 when they told her she had no claim to the inheritance. She tried everything. Claimed I hid assets, investigated and dismissed. Claimed emotional abuse, no evidence. Claimed abandonment, I left after she verbally abused me. Demanded alimony, denied she works full-time. The social media post came back to bite her hard. My lawyer used it as evidence of defamation and malicious intent. Her own words admitting she knew about my adoption trauma and used it against me. The judge was not impressed. Final settlement. She got exactly what she was entitled to, half of our joint savings, about $3,000, and her own debt. I kept my inheritance, my 401k, and my sanity. She tried one last manipulation at the courthouse. Came up crying, saying she just wanted to talk. Said she'd been in therapy and realized she was triggered by my adoption because her dad abandoned their family when she was young. "I was projecting," she said. "I was scared you'd leave me like everyone else has. So you pushed me away by mocking the most painful part of my life? I didn't mean it. You know I loved your parents." "Which ones?" "The ones you called not real, or the dead ones you said abandoned me." She started to answer, but her lawyer pulled her away. That was 6 weeks ago. Since then, sold the inherited house for $280,000. Market went up in that area. Put most of the money in retirement and investments. Kept $50,000 for a down payment on a small condo near work. Started actual therapy to deal with everything. Last week, Mallory sent a letter through her lawyer. She's pregnant, says it's mine, wants to work things out for the baby. Timeline doesn't work. We haven't been intimate in 4 months. I was at a hotel, then the divorce proceedings. Did the math. She would have gotten pregnant after I left. My lawyer responded requesting a paternity test when the baby's born. Her lawyer responded that his client was reconsidering her options. Haven't heard anything since. Meanwhile, I've been reading those letters from my biological parents. Every birthday, every Christmas for 4 years. They wrote about their dreams for me, their hopes that I was happy, their plans to find me. One line keeps sticking with me from my biological father. "I hope you never doubt that you were loved, by the parents who raised you and by us who couldn't. Love multiplies, it doesn't divide." Mallory was wrong. I had real parents. 2 sets of them, actually. All of them loved me in their own ways, with their own limitations. And you know what? That's more than she ever did. Small update. Been a year, figured I'd give a final update. Mallory had the baby. Not mine. Shocked Pikachu face. The actual father was a coworker she'd been seeing for months before our split. They're engaged now. Saw it on social media through a mutual friend. She's posting about how she finally found real love and how her past relationship was toxic and manipulative. Whatever helps her sleep at night. I took a sabbatical and spent 3 months traveling. Visited the town where my biological parents lived. Met their childhood friends, saw their graves. Left flowers and a letter telling them about my life, my adoptive parents, and how I turned out okay. Started dating someone 4 months ago. Her name's Grace. Told her about the whole adoption thing on our 3rd date. Her response? That must have been so hard for all of your parents. How lucky that you were so loved. She's met Patricia, the PI, who I now have coffee with monthly. Patricia says she's never seen a case end this way. Usually it's disappointment or complicated reunions. Not this. The inheritance? Still mostly invested. Used some to start a scholarship fund at my adoptive parents' alma mater for adopted kids going to college. Named it after all 4 of my parents. Mallory reached out once more through a mutual friend. Said she heard about the scholarship and wanted to apologize for everything. The friend said she seemed genuine. I told the friend to tell her I hope she finds peace. Because I have. Finally, the adoption papers I had since childhood had a note from the agency. Your biological parents requested we tell you one thing. You are loved. You are loved. You will always be loved. Turns out they were right. Just took me a while to figure out who really meant it. Thanks for following along. Hug your parents. Biological, adoptive, chosen, or otherwise. The real ones won't care about labels. She shouted. You'll regret walking away from me. I always get what I want. I said, not this time. When she showed up to take back what she claimed was hers, the court order taped to the door proved otherwise. I, 29 male, just had to call the cops on my ex-girlfriend Bianca, 31, for trying to break into my photography studio. The same studio she swore she'd take from me when we broke up 3 months ago. Let me back up. Bianca and I dated for 2 years. She worked in PR, I'm a photographer. When we met, I was doing mostly freelance gigs, weddings, portraits, struggling to make rent. She had connections in the fashion industry through her job. About a year into dating, she started booking me fashion shoots through her contacts. Good money, great exposure. I was grateful. Maybe too grateful. I didn't notice the strings being attached until they were wrapped around my neck. 6 months ago, I'd saved enough to lease a small studio space. Nothing fancy, 800 square feet in an old building, but it had great natural light and was mine. Bianca helped by introducing me to more clients, even suggested we market it as our creative space to her connections. Red flag, I know. But I was riding high on finally having my own place. She started treating the studio like her personal office. Held PR meetings there, stored client gifts, even had packages delivered. When I gently suggested she ask before scheduling meetings during my shoots, she laughed. Babe, without me, you'd still be shooting birthday parties in parks. This studio exists because of my connections. I pay the lease, Bianca. My name's on everything. Money isn't everything. I made this happen. The entitlement grew. She'd cancel my bookings to use the space. Told clients I was busy when she needed the studio for her own purposes. Started referring to it as our studio, then just my studio when talking to her friends. 3 months ago, I hit my limit. She'd canceled a $3,000 product shoot, told the client I was sick because she wanted to host a PR party. When I confronted her, she said, "It's one shoot. I'll get you 10 more. Stop being ungrateful." I'm not your employee, Bianca. This is my business. Your business? You mean the business I built? The studio I filled with clients? The studio I lease, the business I run. You helped, yes, but... Helped? She was screaming now. I created you. You're nothing without me. I ended it that night. Told her we were done, professionally and personally. Asked for my apartment key back. Yeah, we weren't living together, but she had a key. Her response still echoes in my head. You'll regret walking away from me. I always get what I want. Not this time, I said. She threw my key at me and stormed out, but not before promising she'd take everything you think is yours. I thought it was just angry ex talk. I was wrong. Update 1. The first 2 weeks after the breakup were quiet. Too quiet. I changed my apartment locks just in case, but kept the studio the same. It's a commercial space with good security, and changing those locks would have been expensive. Then the games started. First, she called all the clients she'd introduced me to, telling them I was unstable and had stolen her creative concepts. Lost 3 bookings immediately. Whatever. I'd built my own client base too. Next, packages started arriving at the studio. Not for me, for Bianca Torres Creative Consulting. When I returned them to sender, she texted, Those are important client materials. You have no right. You don't work here, Bianca. Use your own address. That is my address. I established that studio as my creative base. No, you hung out in my studio sometimes. Big difference. She started showing up during my shoots, just walking in, acting like she belonged there. The security code hadn't been changed, my mistake, and she'd memorized it. After the third interruption, I changed the code and explicitly told her she was not welcome without invitation. Her response was to send a formal letter from some budget lawyer claiming she had established tenancy in the studio through regular use and property storage. I laughed. Tenancy? In a commercial photography studio where she never paid a dime? Good luck with that. But then I found out she'd been telling people she was a co-founder of my studio, had business cards printed, listed my studio address on her LinkedIn, was actively booking her own PR meetings there, telling clients I was the one subletting from her. Time to get serious. I hired a lawyer, Diane, who specialized in small business disputes. She reviewed everything: lease, bank records, emails, texts. She has absolutely no claim, Diane said, but she's creating a paper trail that could complicate things. We need to shut this down now. We sent a cease and desist. Clear language. Stop claiming ownership. Stop using the address. Stop interfering with the business. Bianca's response was to post on Instagram. When you build something beautiful with someone and they try to erase your contributions, standing up for what's mine. Entrepreneur struggles, women in business. The comments were all supportive. Poor Bianca, pushed out by her ungrateful ex. I didn't engage. Just screenshotted everything. 2 days later, she showed up with a moving truck. Update 2, I was editing photos when I heard the commotion outside. Looked out the window. Moving truck, 2 guys with dollies, and Bianca directing them like a general. I met them at the door. What's happening here? Bianca smiled sweetly. Moving my things out. Since you're being petty about the space, I'm taking what's mine. You don't have things here. Oh, really? She pushed past me, the movers following, started pointing at equipment. That lighting kit, bought with money from clients I brought. Those backdrops, purchased during our relationship. That desk, I picked it out. I have receipts for all of this. My receipts. Receipts don't tell the whole story. She turned to the movers. Start with the desk. I stepped between them and the desk. Nobody's taking anything. Bianca, you need to leave. Or what? You'll call the cops on your girlfriend? Ex-girlfriend. And yes, she laughed. I know my rights. I have belongings here. You can't deny me access to my property. What property? Name one thing in here that's yours. She walked to a corner shelf, pulled down a small potted plant, one she'd brought months ago and forgotten about. This, see? My property. That gives me the right to be here. The movers looked uncomfortable. One asked, Ladies, should we wait outside? No, I'm paying you to move my things. I called the police, told them someone was trying to remove equipment from my studio. Bianca told the movers to hurry. They refused. They didn't want trouble. When the cops arrived, Bianca turned on the tears, said she was just trying to collect her belongings from a shared workspace. Even showed them the business cards with my studio address. The officers looked at my lease, my ID, then asked Bianca for any proof of ownership or residency. She had her business cards and that's it. Ma'am, this appears to be his commercial space. Unless you have documentation showing ownership or a legal right to remove property, you need to leave. But we built this together. I have clients here. Then you'll need to sort it out in court. For now, you need to go. She left, but not before hissing, This isn't over. I always get what I want. The potted plant sat on my desk, wilting. Update 3. After the moving truck incident, I thought maybe reality had set in. Nope. Bianca just got more creative. She filed a small claims suit, not for the studio, even she wasn't that delusional, but for lost income from dissolved business partnership and unreimbursed business expenses. She claimed we were 50-50 partners, and I owed her half the studio's value plus compensation for the clients she'd brought. The number she came up with? $45,000. Diane laughed when she saw it. She's fishing. This won't hold up, but you'll need to respond. We filed our response with a counterclaim for harassment and interference with business. I had documentation of every canceled booking, every interrupted shoot, every false claim she'd made to clients. Then things escalated. Again, I arrived at the studio one morning to find the locks glued shut, super glue in every keyhole. Had to call a locksmith, missed a morning shoot, cost me $400 to fix, and a $500 cancellation fee from the client. Security footage showed Bianca at 3 a.m., hoodie up, but clearly her. 2 days later, every photography studio in the area received an email from concerned client, warning them about me. Claimed I was unstable, stole equipment, and had unethical business practices. Most ignored it, but 2 studios I sometimes collaborated with called to ask what was going on. Then she made her biggest mistake. She filed a complaint with the building management, claiming to be a tenant being illegally evicted. Forged a sublease agreement between us, even created fake payment records. Building management called me, confused. She says she's been paying you $800 a month to share the space? That's completely false. I have all my bank records here. She's never paid me anything. They were skeptical until I showed them our text exchanges where she explicitly stated she'd never paid for the studio. They were not amused by the forged documents. Diane's eyes lit up when I told her. Forgery. Fraud. This changes things. We're going from defense to offense. We filed a restraining order request with all the evidence. The harassment, the property damage, the forged documents, the security footage. Judge granted a temporary order immediately, pending a full hearing. Bianca was served at her office. Her coworkers saw the whole thing. She called me from a blocked number that night, screaming about humiliation and how I'd ruined her reputation. You did that yourself, I said, and hung up. The restraining order required her to stay 100 feet from me and 500 feet from the studio. No contact except through lawyers. She'd have her day in court to contest it, but until then, she was legally barred from my life. You'd think that would stop her. You'd be wrong. Update 4. The restraining order hearing was set for 2 weeks out. Bianca hired a new lawyer. Apparently the first one dropped her after the forgery came to light. In those 2 weeks, she got desperate. Couldn't contact me directly, couldn't come near the studio, but she wasn't done. She created a website, The Truth About My Business Name. Full of lies about stolen equipment, breached contracts, and a pattern of exploiting women entrepreneurs. SEO optimized so it showed up when anyone Googled my business. But she made a crucial error. She registered the domain in her own name. Easy to trace. More evidence for our file. Then came the reviews. 1-star ratings on every platform from obviously fake accounts, all posted within hours. Racist photographer. Stole my deposit. Inappropriate behavior during shoot. Fortunately, most platforms have ways to dispute fake reviews, especially with a restraining order as evidence. The hearing arrived. I wore my only suit. Bianca showed up in full corporate power dress, looking every inch the wronged businesswoman. Her new lawyer argued that the restraining order was an attempt to silence a business dispute between former partners. Claimed Bianca had sweat equity in the studio and was being punished for asserting her rights. Diane systematically destroyed every claim. Bank records showing I alone paid for everything. The lease in only my name. Text messages where Bianca acknowledged it was my studio. Security footage of her damaging property. The forged sublease documents. The fake website registration, screenshots of false reviews. The judge asked Bianca directly, "Did you create these sublease documents?" They were draft agreements we discussed. That's not what I asked. Did you create these documents and submit them as authentic? Long pause. I was documenting our verbal agreement. So you forged them? Her lawyer tried to object. The judge wasn't having it. The ruling was swift. Restraining order extended for 1 year. Bianca was ordered to take down the website, cease all defamatory statements, and pay my legal fees, about $8,000. As we left court, she couldn't help herself. Waited until we were in the parking lot, technically 100 feet away, and shouted, "This isn't over. I'll get what's mine. I always win." Diane just smiled and made sure our court reporter heard every word. Update 5. The restraining order should have been the end. But Bianca had one more card to play. 2 weeks after the hearing, I got a call from my landlord, not the building management, the actual property owner. "Mr. My Name, I'm calling about the sublease situation." "What sublease situation?" "Your subtenant, Ms. Torres, contacted me directly. Says you've been illegally subletting and she wants to take over the lease properly." My blood ran cold. She's not my subtenant, she's my ex with a restraining order against her. She sent me a sublease agreement with your signature. The forged documents. She was using them again, just targeting someone new. I explained everything, sent him the court documents, the restraining order, the ruling about the forgery. He was not pleased. She seemed very professional on the phone, even offered to pay 6 months up front. That detail stuck with me. 6 months up front? Where did Bianca get that kind of money? I found out soon enough. She'd been telling her wealthy clients that she was expanding her creative agency and needed investors for an established studio space. Raised almost $30,000 from 3 people who thought they were investing in her business. When those investors Googled the studio address and found my website, they called me. We're looking to schedule a meeting about the investment opportunity. What investment opportunity? The truth came out quick. Bianca had shown them photos of my studio, my work, claiming it was all part of her expansion. Promised them equity in a business that didn't exist. 3 very angry investors. And now we weren't talking about small claims court anymore. This was fraud. Actual, criminal fraud. Diane connected them with a criminal attorney. I gave statements to the police, showed them everything. The forged documents, the false claims, the restraining order violations. Contacting my landlord definitely counted. Bianca was arrested at her office, again in front of her coworkers. This time for fraud and violating a restraining order. She made bail, but the damage was done. Her PR firm fired her. The investors were pressing charges. The criminal case was moving forward. And me? I finally had peace. Changed all my locks again, upgraded security, and slowly rebuilt the client relationships she'd tried to destroy. But I should have known she'd try one more thing. Final update. It's been 3 months since the breakup. Bianca's criminal trial is pending. She's out on bail with strict conditions. No contact with me, the investors, or anyone connected to the case. Yesterday morning, I arrived at my studio to find her standing outside. Not within 500 feet, she'd clearly measured. Just standing on the public sidewalk, holding a sign. This business was built on lies and theft. Legal? Technically. Technically she was far enough away. Technically it was free speech. Technically not contact. I called Diane. She sighed. Document it, but unless she approaches or directly contacts you, it's a gray area. I went inside, tried to work, but clients arriving for shoots saw her. Awkward questions, concerned looks. She stood there for 3 hours. Lunchtime, I'd had enough. Went to the building's front door, still maintaining distance, and taped something to the glass door. Large enough for her to read from where she stood. The final restraining order. The fraud charges. The arrest record. And a QR code linking to a simple website I'd created documenting everything. Court documents, security footage, her own text admissions. All public record. All fact. The sign read, "The truth about Bianca Torres, scan for court documents." She stared at it. I watched from inside as people walking by started scanning the code, reading, looking at her with her sad protest sign, shaking their heads. One person I recognized, a client of hers from the fashion world. She scanned, read, looked at Bianca with disgust, and walked away while pulling out her phone. Bianca's face went from smug to panicked. She grabbed her sign and practically ran to her car. Haven't seen her since. Last night, I got a text from an unknown number. Just one line. "You win." Blocked it, but I saved the screenshot, just in case. Because here's what Bianca never understood. This was never about winning. It was about protecting what I'd built. She thought intimidation and lies would get her what she wanted because they always had before. Not this time. The studio is thriving. I'm booked solid for the next 2 months. The clients she drove away, most came back when they learned the truth. The new security system includes cameras that would make a casino jealous. And that wilted plant she left, I nursed it back to health. It sits in my office window, a reminder that even things that seem dead can come back stronger. Bianca's trial starts next month. I'll have to testify. But I'm not worried. I have receipts, literally and figuratively. Every text, every email, every forged document, every lie she told. She thought she'd take my studio because she always gets what she wants. But wants and gets are 2 different things, and sometimes what you get is exactly what you deserve. The court order taped to my door isn't just paper. It's proof that truth wins. Eventually. even when the lies are loud and the liar is relentless. She wanted my studio. What she got was a criminal record and a career in ruins. I wanted peace. What I got was a business that's truly mine, and the knowledge that I can stand up to anyone who tries to take it. Not a bad trade, honestly.